So communication, for whatever reason, as you were going through it, I don't believe you said contempt. And when I listened to this again, but for some reason, when you started, something came up to my head, and I was like, wow, if there's no communication, you're naturally going to build this contempt towards somebody across the board. And that's where my head kind of stuck that entire time. Maybe because I'm just so, I don't want to say infatuated with the word contempt, but like that is such a, I feel like the word contempt sums up a lot of things, and communication relating to that. That's just where it stopped. Like I don't believe you said it. Maybe you did.
No, I didn't know.
You didn't say it in there, but it was one of those, you said something in that talk, and sorry for those watching, you're gonna be like, what is he talking about? I'm going to re-listen to it and I'll put it in the description of what I was referring to, where I instantly drew it to contempt. And it might've been something about the relationship.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because if that communication isn't happening and you're just assuming everything always, all the time, and you're assuming this person likes something and you're assuming that they want you to continue it, when in reality, it's the exact opposite of what they get. Here's what I found in relationships, at least with what I do. Everybody still wants to do the best, no matter what, for that person. But there is that line of communication that if it's not established that I don't like this, stop doing this because, I'm afraid that it's going to hurt their feelings. That's naturally going to build this contempt with them, no matter what. No matter what. That by you not voicing your opinion and having that communication with that person, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Right. You just talked about boundaries there. So a person that has no boundaries will allow themselves to be walked all over. And you can never trust this person without boundaries because the goalposts are always moving and you don't know where they're going to stand any given day. So yeah, no, I mean, you're right. Contempt truly will block you from all communication because you're so good. And I think I'm so much better than you that I couldn't learn anything from you. I mean, we could learn something from every single person, in fact, the opposite a lot of times is true. People go to the university to learn from professors and people that have studied their whole life. And a lot of times, a lot of documentaries are actually written about people that come out of prison, right? I mean, how many documentaries are there of people that have been in prison that they've basically lived a life where it's like they ended up in jail, right? Well, documentaries are written about these people because we can learn from them.
Yeah.
Right. You can learn from anyone, and you're right. Contempt truly will put you in a spot where it's very difficult to communicate because you're basically always you're thinking about yourself all the time when you're in contempt. Because there's a comparison going on there.
When you were in Florida, was this a big topic, this communication, like the 16 for John Maxwell?
Yeah. The book wasn't released then, and he was actually giving the book away. He was, yeah, it was great stuff. And, John is someone where he really believes that I heard it today. He goes, normally in life, 1 + 1 is 2. He says, but if you team up with people and you allow them to use everything that you have, like John, most of the stuff he produces, I'm a John Maxwell certified instructor at this point. So I can actually take John's stuff and he goes, you can take it and present it as if it's yours. I'm like, most people don't do that. They go, no, it's trademark. Don't touch it. Get away from it. Did you copy that? I'm going to come after you for that. John goes, no, you can have it. He goes, I'm going to multiply through you. He goes, because 1 + 1 is not 2 in my world. He says, because I live where it's 1 standing next to 1 and now it's 11.
Wow.
Right. John, I mean, and this this book on communication is mainly about presenting to a group of people. That's why I kind of was morphing this into more personal relationships, but the rules stay the same, whether you're presenting to a group of people or just standing there talking to your children or your wife. The way you're coming across matters, and a lot of times people don't realize the voice inflection. They don't realize the words they're using. They don't realize that they could rearrange the words in a way to make the person more receptive to receiving it. Because the fact is, if I communicate with you in a way that you don't even want to hear what I'm listening to, I might as well not even say a word. It's so you got to communicate in a way where the person's receptive to hearing it. And a lot of times this happens. You got something to say and I'm going to blast it at you. And you're wasting your time.
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah. I mean, I had this conversation with a young man and loved the guy. We were talking the day and he was communicating with someone that he was having a problem with. And it was like, you're mad at this person, right? Really angry with him. And he goes, all right, you're ready? Here we go. I'm going to call him up. Okay, go ahead. And as he calls, I took my phone, I pushed record. The auto recording, just record. So I recorded his entire conversation. And then he hung up and he goes, so what do you think? I go, ooh.
No.
I go, that was a rough one. I go, you are extremely defensive. Every single sentence that you ended on an up note. You're like, yeah, and it seems to be like this, and you're like, duh, and look, and those are fighting words, right? If you end your sentence on an up note, I'm fighting with you, and the position is, here's my problem, and you're part of it. It's like, well, oh my gosh, and then as he's talking to me, and I told him, I said, and by the way, my phone's been recording, and I'm going to text you the recording in a minute so you can listen to yourself, because a lot of times that's the key to the communication. We don't see ourselves, we don't look in the mirror and go see ourselves for what it really is, So if you can actually do that, listen to yourself and go, wow, I didn't even know I sounded like that. Most people don't. Then I said, and by the way, I've been recording our conversation. And I said, if you listen to your tone of voice with that person on the phone, and then your tone of voice with me, which one would you rather speak to? Which one was better? I go, it's easy to be nice to someone that's nice to you. It takes a big person with a big character to be nice and courteous to someone that's not nice to you. That's it. I mean, it's so simple.
But it's so hard, dude. It is so hard. I know.
I'm with you.
I don't listen. I'm not saying what I do is right.
Right? But we're projecting. I know. We're all projecting.
I am a victim of that to the extreme.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes I live in that, and this is why I probably build contempt with people without even recognizing it. Like I'm the same way, and I try my hardest. I bite my tongue. I sit there. I smile. I do what I can. But after a while, I just want to
grab them and
shake somebody up and just be like, just please listen to the words that I'm saying. Just please.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to be a good person, and I'm really trying to, what you're doing is wrong. This is not it.
According to them, it's right.
Right. And it's like, right. But what you're doing is wrong. You can think it's right. This is what, you can think it's wrong, but this is the procedure, and what you're doing is wrong, but you're accustomed to thinking that it's correct.
Right.
I'm trying to go about it in the way that's like, hey, you were taught wrong. Instead of me calling you out on it and I'm not calling you out, excuse me, that's a very, very direct way. Instead of me just going, you're wrong. It's like, oh, I can see you doing this. Let's try it this way. And then it's after a while, it's like, well, we're not trying anything differently. We're still doing it this way. And that's not the way to do it, because this is like, here is the way to do it.
Any example of this?
I'll use podcasting, for example.
Okay.
And I'm only saying it, right? Like you develop, like not our podcast, but you develop a structure. You develop because it works one way.
Okay.
It really does.
Okay.
There's not one way to do something, but I've tried this way to try it that way, added this takes up this amount of time compared to doing it this way by adding this, purchasing this technology that allows you to do this you know what I mean? So it's like the trial and error has been done. Like for if you were going to accumulate the amount of time, it's there. You know what I mean? To then, here's the structure. Here's everything that's in place. Just not follow here it is. This is how easy it can be, because it's done here. And then somebody does something the other way. Okay, totally get it. Or I know how long it should take to edit an episode, to edit something here, to edit something there. I just know how long it should take. It's just, you know what I mean? Same thing with you. When you make a bottle of wine, you just know you've done it so many times. And it's, why would this episode take this long? Just a quick question. I'm just questioning. Just a question. Why would it take this long? Well, I tried to do it like this. Okay. I understood. Just moving forward, this is just to prevent you going. I already did everything here to prevent that, because I did that already. You see what I'm saying? It's like I've done it all. Like I've done that aspect of it. So the reason why I don't do it that way is because that's why it takes us long. So this is the way that can do it so that it's here. Okay. Sounds good. Hey, next up, what's going on with the episode? Oh, this is the issue I'm running into. And then I sit back and I go, hold on a second. Didn't we just have, in my head, I don't say it, but didn't we just have this conversation? Like the reason why it's done this way is because I already did all that. You see what I mean? It's like I already did it that way and it doesn't work. This is why this is, but then we also just talked about it 5 days ago. And you agreed, you yesed me to death saying this is what we're going to do. And now you're doing the same thing again and not following this. what's the direction there? You know what I mean? Like how,
I get it.
so from a communication standpoint, how do you communicate it without having to put your foot down, be direct? Because then you are made out to be that jerk. You are made out to be that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, you look wrong and it's like, well, I don't know how else to really communicate this anymore to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
very long. That was a very long-winded. Thank you guys for letting me vent about it, because I'm going through it and I'm like, I don't know how else I can really say this without telling them to just listen to what's coming out of my mouth now. Like I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But a lot of times, like knowing and doing are two different things. Everyone knows that you shouldn't smoke. People still do, you know, and it's like sometimes people won't understand something until they discover it on their own. So it doesn't matter how much you say to them, like, this is how it needs to be done, until they discover it, they really won't know. And forgive them, you know?
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it's almost, it's like, it goes back to that saying, like, if you don't do what someone did, just do what they did and you'll do what they do. Right. But a lot of times some people go, well, I'm going to find a different way. Great. You might find a different way, but if you want to do what they did, just do what they did and you'll do what they do. And in our communication, if you're the expert, if you're the person going, I've done this, I've been there. You know, there's a saying, if you want to go somewhere, talk to someone that's on their way back. Right? Right? I mean, it's so simple, right?
Go.
They'll tell you how to get there. Yeah. Right? You know, it's true, you know? So, and most people that ever achieve stuff in life, they want to help other people achieve the same thing because they're passionate about it. They're excited about it. They're going, yes, you can too. You can get there. And then we can celebrate together. We can be the same. We can win at the same area in life. And in communication, if you're coming up against someone that you just see that, man, they're making the wrong decision, they're going down the wrong path, all you can do is just simply be a soft guide rail in their life. You know, a soft guide rail. In other words, you're a dotted line along the road. You're not the big, strong, heavy metal rail. You're the dotted line saying, if what's worked for me is staying within these dotted lines. If you go out of them, I can't help you. But if you stay in these dotted lines, I can help you. And then they find themselves out of the dotted lines and they come to you and go, oh, no, remember, you're out of the dotted lines. Come back and now I can help you. And they'll go, oh, I got it. You know, but really everyone lives in their own reality of life and everyone perceives something different. So if someone's so passionately saying I'm right and you're wrong, just as much as we think we're right, they think they're right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
know. That's
and
where
it goes both ways. And who really is right? Who knows? But there are rules to life. There are. I mean, they're written out in Proverbs and the Bible and stuff like that. If you follow those rules, you'll live a good life. If you don't, you probably won't. It's really that simple, you know. And this is where things kind of get gray when people try to create their own truth about life. And I think that's a dangerous area to try to create your own truth. You know, like this truth. This is right for me. Well, is it right for everyone? You know, I don't know. You know, when it comes to communicating, though, the best advice I would ever give someone is treat the people you love like you treat your best customers. And you will be amazed at how much of a wonderful person you just became. It's that simple.
It's so hard. I know. It's going to be not that we're clashing on this concept, but it's so hard. Maybe it's also because it's like the infancy stages, right? Where it's like you got to learn and you got to learn to, like me, for example, you got to learn to fire customers. You just got to. It's just like it's a business thing where it's like mentally, it's just like it's just a part of business, but you do everything with the positive, best interests in mind always. Maybe I'm just going through that stage because it's like that's where I feel it's at. And I'm like, wow, communicating is one of those things where it's not even a requirement, it's necessary. But now effectively communicating is like the piggyback off of that. Like, how are you effectively doing it? Because clearly what I'm doing is not effectively working. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to just work out on my end. Like, all right, let me just try to, let me try to do it. And let me try to relay it without sounding like me, I. And it's not intending to be that way, but it's like, hey, listen, man, it's almost like an insult. Like I spent hundreds of hours trying to perfect this thing. And you're coming to me telling me that it's wrong. It's like
go a different way.
Yeah, it's like, I don't really, I can't agree with that because you know what I mean?
I do.
I hate to say it that way, and it's not trying to boost an ego. It's just
what I would do in communicating like that, take the issue out of the individual. Take like basically you're saying it's you versus them. I always say it's not you versus them. It's my process versus their process.
Gotcha.
And when all of a sudden it's not the individual, it's no longer personal. You know, this lesson actually comes from the last lecture. When someone comes up with an idea, it's not Kathy's idea. It's the idea about the train. And let's talk about the idea about the train. And now if that idea gets shot down and changed, Kathy's not offended because she doesn't own the idea. You know, so I would say this is my idea. This is how I've done it. How do you want to do it? This, what's your idea? And then we talk about the idea as it's separate from the individual. And this area of communication, this is why we say earlier about my kids. If they do something I don't like, I don't say, I can't believe what you did. I go, I don't like what you did over here. That action isn't good. You're still wonderful. I love everything about you, but what you did, that I don't like. Because you can change the action. I can't change the individual. If I'm going after them as a person, we got problems.
Yeah.
It's like I love Maggie, I love Joseph, I love Natalie for who they are. And one day they might be doing something that I don't like. Like come downstairs and the house is all torn apart. It's all a mess. I don't like what you did. I love you guys, but if we don't clean this up, we are all in trouble here. Oh my gosh! But now I word it in a way where I'm sorry. This is just the way it is. I'm not the one imposing this upon you. This is just the rules of life here. That if you make a mess and you don't clean it up, you did something that shouldn't happen. I'm sorry. The rules of life is going to say this needs to get fixed. It's not Dad. It's the rules of society, the rules of life.
I see.
And if you don't learn this now, you're going to have to learn when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. And the consequences are much greater than today. Learn now, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. Whenever there's an issue or problem, take it out of the individual. Never, and this actually comes from Gottman. He says if couples are fighting and there's an issue, the couples that end up getting divorced, they place the issue inside the other person and they say, you are the problem. The couples that have a successful relationship, they remove the problem and they treat the problem like a ball that they're just passing back and forth and they're just talking about it. And then they can put the ball down and walk away from it. And it's not in the other person.
Interesting.
Right. It's huge.
That's a cool dynamic.
It's great stuff. I mean, Tiff and I use it all the time. Tiff is never the problem. I'm never the problem. But if there's a problem, we talk about it like it's outside of us. And therefore, it's not internalized in the individual. And this is just with any sort of issue with someone. If you have an issue with someone, it's not the person. It's what they think. It's outside of them. It's like, well, here, the issue is how this should be designed. Okay, let's talk about how what do you think should be designed? How do I should think it should be designed? And then maybe there's a hybrid. And I would say, because I'm always looking for ways to get better. I'm sure you are too. And they'll go, absolutely I am. Let's just so we can figure it out. Now we've removed the personal connection to the idea. Now what's happened is they can basically change their mind and save face. But if the idea is inside of them, they can't change their mind because they change their mind, they're wrong.
Yeah.
But if you remove it from them, they can change their mind and they're not wrong now. And it's all good. No problem. And we always got to think no one in the world, in my opinion, is at the exact same spot at the exact same emotional time, right? In time, right? So everyone's feeling something a little bit different. Everyone knows a little bit something different in their head. This is what makes humanity so great, right? So when you're communicating with someone, you're communicating with everything they've ever lived through and everything they've ever heard from their past at this moment in time. In a year from now, you're communicating with a different animal because they've been through a different set of life circumstances. And when we can recognize that, now communication go to a whole new level.
Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of dumbfounded because like while you were saying that whole thing, removing the problem, for some reason I went to the visualization of like literally like if you and I are having a conversation, literally buying a ball and being like, here's the problem.
Yep.
What's the problem?
Toss it around. That'd be neat.
Like literally like literally you said that and I'm like, I'm literally after this going to Target and getting a ball.
Couple should do that.
Because it's just like, it's such a visual realization of like, you want to know how you do it?
Oh my
Whatever
God,
your
Ralph.
problem is do it. That's where my head went. That's why I'm sitting here looking like, wow, it could be that simple.
You could write the problem right on the ball.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, what are you doing to figure it out? Well, I need help. Okay. How are we going to go about it? Great. There's a problem. Leave it there. We'll figure it out a later time.
Let's put it down. We'll come back to it another day.
Yeah. Because then it's no longer you and that person. Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not a therapist, but if you guys want to use it, take it.
Wow.
Take it. Do what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that after this.
Wow.
I'm going to text Diana that right now.
That is such good stuff.
Buy a ball, please.
Right? That's awesome, right? Buy a ball. What?
Buy a ball. Just do it, please.
We're going to start passing it around.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Thank you for that. I needed that realization.
Good stuff.
Thank you, man.